Here is Cormac Gilligan, the Global Vice President of Environment, Health and Safety from PepsiCo, sharing his insights.
And it was a game changer for us. I mean, it really was. I mean, we have a very clear purpose around what it is that we're about as an organization, as a function within a big organization, but we weren't working together as one. So the steps that we activated on this was, obviously getting the pulse of the employees is absolutely fundamental. The space for listening, as I mentioned. 100 employees, I think, attend and input to this pre-pulse and the dialogue itself. We went and reflected for a number of weeks as a leadership team based on what we heard, what the outputs from that session was, and to try and consolidate our thinking and look at what those priorities should be, and then put those into a clear plan of action with very clear accountabilities for everybody coming out of it. It also clarified these barriers, these enemies to progress that were very real in the organization, and that without addressing head on, we're never going to help. We were never going to move the needle. So these four key issues were a lack of resources, a belief that we would never get investment to drive improvement, which was kind of a poor me type of conversation that all of us were having as a function. This inflexible structure, that a belief that we had to have central reporting and we can't influence the organization unless we've got this functional solid line reporting. Lack of cohesion between what the global team function at the time were doing and what was wanted and needed in the business were at loggerheads. And that then created a lack of trust. So, global mandates coming, global priorities coming that were not in sync with what business leadership was expecting us to do. So these barriers were real problems for us. These elements of the code then offered us the opportunity to approach this in a different way with intentionality, honesty, embracing the discomfort and embracing the fact that silence is good in many cases, right? But just creating that space that allowed us to have this open, frank discussion really helped ignite a much different approach and commitment to doing things in a different way. So we went from this functional piece, this reporting piece, from just EHS leaders reporting into their local business to a more central reporting to the function lead, to the head of the organization. Now, it wasn't solid line, dotted line. We didn't go down that road because that can be a misnomer and a barrier in itself. Business still needs to own execution, and so we need to be careful with that. But the idea of a much more stronger function with that functional leadership leading was a clear output. We went from mandates to co-creating solutions, right? So we don't do mandates anymore within EHS and PepsiCo. Every now and then we might get a mandate from our board of directors, but typically, because we now have a single strategy, and that's the third point, we went from a lack of joined up thinking to co-creating one simple strategy for the organization. So everybody works on the same strategy. If you go to Mexico or go to Latin America, you won't see a different strategy. You'll see our single PepsiCo EHS strategy that's flexible and agile enough for the local business to do their thing within that strategy, but everybody has the same set of top level priorities. We began talking, we went from not really connecting to the business agenda to directly connecting to the business agenda, showing return on investment, speaking language that the executives speak. We got a seat, we got a very active seat at the board with our audit committee, at the board of directors and our PepsiCo risk committee. We presented those now quarterly and continue to present to them quarterly as well, which again is a real strong indication of the engagement and where we went from this being a problem to the board now want to hear from us on a more regular basis. The digitalization of our work, so taking complex processes that were old and paper-based and putting them on making them mobile, putting them in iPads, putting iPads in the hands of all of our frontline team, digitalizing our agenda, and then creating this drumbeat of simple messaging. That was one of the outputs from that sessions. Those sessions was that our stakeholders really don't know, are really not clear what we do as an organization. One example of our impact here is for our 88,000 vehicles on the road was a major source of serious incidents. You can imagine some developing markets where you've got trucks on the road, vans on the road delivering products. We installed in every single vehicle telematics, and so driver behavior monitoring technology that tells us whether a driver is wearing a seatbelt, are they speeding, are they braking suddenly, are they distracted when they're driving. Absolute game changer. Every single piece of data from each individual truck is uploaded to the cloud minute by minute. So we have this massive data set that gives us a huge opportunity to go and influence those driver behaviors. You can almost chart the days at which the different countries turned on this technology, performance began to improve. That was a significant investment for the organization over that initial period of time. It was about a $40 million investment to do that globally. The return on that investment has been significant, not just in safety, but sustainability, go-to-market sales, compliance, maintenance on our fleet vehicles. The payback has been significantly greater than what we spent on it.
Have your say and join us at www.thedialoguecode.com.